Hi there. So today we're going to make some cookies, and for this particular recipe you're going to need some flour. I have about a cup and a half of flour here. You're gonna need some water and salt and some honey. Yeah, we're making the healthy version. You're going to need some oil, and I have crushed some flaxseed, not fully crushed of course, and some sunflower seed. So that's what we're going to be using for this particular recipe. Now we can start. We're going to start with some salt to taste. Just about this much salt to taste. I hope this isn't too much. It looks like it's too much, but I think it's okay. And then we're going to mix that up properly. Then from there we're going to add the flaxseed. I don't know how many spoons this is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. About 5 teaspoons of flaxseed. Then we're going to add sunflower seeds. They are also lightly crushed. I was just using a mortar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 5.5 teaspoons of sunflower seed. We're going to mix that up as well. Okay, so this is a vegan recipe, and then we're going to mix the wet ingredients together as well. Okay, so I forgot one thing in the recipe, that is soy milk. We're using this soy milk. So to a mixing bowl, we're going to add 1 cup of soy milk. I mean, this is 125 ml, half a cup of soy milk. Okay. And then we're going to add some oil. So for the oil, we're going to add about 1/4 of this 125 ml. Or we're going to add half. Okay, that should be enough. And then from there, we're going to add our honey. About half of 125 ml as well. And then we're going to mix that up. I initially said we're adding water to this recipe, but I think the milk will suffice and take the place of the water. So you have to mix this thoroughly before you add it to the wet ingredients. So I'm just going to do that. I just realized I could actually use this one to mix, so I'm just going to use that one instead. And now that the wet ingredients are mixed together, we're just going to now add them to the dry ingredients. Okay. And mix that up together. Just going to go ahead and remove as as much dough as I can from this. Then at this particular point, I'm going to go in with my hands just to check if the dough is the right consistency. So our dough is a little bit dry, so we're going to add in a little bit more of the milk as well as the oil. So in this case, you may need to use a little bit more oil because you do not have butter or margarine or anything of the sort. So we're just going to add this much milk. This is about a quarter of a 125 mils to the mixing bowl. And then we're adding just a bit more, a little of oil, something like that. And then we're going to mix this up and pour it into the rest of the ingredients. All mixed, now I'm just pouring it into the rest of the ingredients, like that. And then I'm just going to use my tiny spoon for now, since I'm about to go in with my hands anyway. I'll check the consistency again, just to ensure it's correct. So if you want the cookies to be crunchy, like really crunchy, this should be just about the right consistency. But if you don't want them to be so crunchy, and maybe if you want them, yes, Sally. Okay, so now was break time. Sally wanted water. Anyways, so like I was saying, if you want it to be really crunchy, then you want the dough to be a bit more firm, but you can add more milk or water at this point if you want them to be a little bit more mushy, for lack of a better term. Yes, so we're done with our dough. I don't want to mix it too much, and I do not have a specific reason for that. Right, there we go. From this stage, we are going to form the cookies. So at this stage, you can form them into the shape of your choice. I don't have cookie cutters with me here, so I'm just going to make them into balls and then flatten the balls like that. So in case you don't have a cookie cutter or cookie cutters, you could equally do the same. You could also just make any other shape that you can with your hands, of course. So do them like that, and then flatten them up like that. And making something like this, something like that. I'm going to do this to the rest of the dough. Okay, we're all done, and they look something like this. And this recipe has given me 9 cookies, 10 cookies. So if you want more cookies, you could just make them smaller. So at this particular point in time, I'm just going to get my baking tray and line them up. I'll also be preheating my oven. So this is my baking tray. You could add some oil if you want. It's not necessary since there's quite a generous amount of oil in the cookies. So I'm just going to line them up here, and I have preheated my oven at 230 degrees Celsius. So I'm all done. These are the cookies, and now I'm just going to put them in my oven. Like I said, it's at 230 degrees Celsius, that is. And in case I didn't mention at first, I was using whole wheat flour, and then what else? And I was saying that I just use the mortar and the pestle to crush the flaxseed as well as the sunflower. And what I'm just trying to say is, if you don't have a blender, use what you have. Most African homes have those things that I just mentioned. So we get straight into the baking. Oh, I know you can see the blender in the background. It stopped working, so yeah. I decided to add a little detail using a fork, just like that. I'm going to do that with the rest of the cookies. Hello. So here are the cookies. We're done baking. It took about 17 minutes for the first batch and 20 minutes to complete everything all together, because I removed like 6 at first, and then the other 4 weren't fully prepared, so I let them there for an additional 3 minutes. So here are the cookies. They are vegan friendly, as you saw from the recipe, and that's how you make your flaxseed cookies. You could call them whatever you want, since we also have sunflower in there. And that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching, and bye bye. See you next time.